Alright guys, so tonight what we're going to do is, it's starting to get dark, we're going to go over a quick way to take a tin can, which you can find pretty readily in the woods these days, or around old campsites, things like that, and make a lantern, because we're going to do some scouting tonight by candlelight. So basically what you want to do is, once you find your can, now this is already, you can tell, pretty rusty and stuff on the inside. I already did punch holes on each side, which you don't have to do that right away, but the holes are punched. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a section of this out with my multi-tool, and that is actually where the candle is going to sit and portray the light out the front. We're then going to take the piece that we cut out and we're going to use that as a topper. We're going to punch 4 holes around the edges and then bend that back inside. So I'm going to get working on this. I'm just going to let the camera roll a little bit. There might be some other guys walking by, and because we have a couple guys here at camp today. So I'm going to start working on this and just talk you through it as we go. Now, one thing you want to make sure when you're doing this is you don't want to just put your can down and push, because there's going to be the can's going to flex and you're going to end up crushing it. So if you can, get a piece of wood. It's about the size of this, which I'm going to grab right now. Just stick inside there, and then you have a flat, solid working area. So stay tuned. I'm going to find a piece of wood we have laying around that will fit inside there, and then we'll go from there. Okay guys, so we got the log here, and it's pretty big, chunk that we had laying around, but as you can see, it fits the can pretty solid, and I can push down pretty well with it. So I might actually throw my foot up on that if I need to get a little bit more stability there. So I did take my pencil, my carpenter's pencil, out of my journal, and I actually marked the area in this where I want to cut. So what you want to do initially to cut this is you're going to want to use the awl on your multi-tool. Now I have a Leatherman Wave, and one thing I will say about this that I did not like, everything on here is pretty good. I have scissors, pliers, 2 different saws, a real good sharp blade. There was no awl. So what I did was, we had a bunch of flat blade screwdrivers on here, and when I was at the forge one day, I actually got on the grinder and I grinded one of the screwdrivers down into an awl. So it's really sharp, and that'll give a good point there that I can drive through. And another thing that, when I was looking for a log, that my one friend said to me to remind everybody, was that we threw this can in the fire because this can was around camp for a while. So that's actually going to soften the metal. If you get a good hot fire and you put that in first, you're going to be able to soften your metal up. So I'm just marking out my 4 holes with this. As you can see, there's the 4 holes are done. And now I'm going to get out my saw, and I'm going to start to cut those pieces out. Now for this is more of a strapping type saw. That's what I'm going to use just to cut through. And again, just be careful, because you don't want to slip with this and cut yourself. I'm going to show you how we're going to get these edges from not being sharp, because you don't want to cut yourself. Also, basically all I'm doing is I'm taking my tip and driving it in. So I'm not making big cuts, maybe 1/4 inch cuts at a time along this. So once I get this edge cut, as you can see, so I'm going to take a break for a second. I'm going to finish this, and then we'll get back to you once I have this cut out. I'm going to show you how we'll fold the edges over. Alright guys, so what I did, as you can see, we cut out the whole front of the can. Now I made cuts on each corner diagonally, and the reason I did that is because we're actually going to fold each edge back a little bit to just get them sharp edges out of there. So if we need to be in and out, we don't cut ourselves with rusty metal or anything. So I'm going to fold those back, and basically to do that, as you can tell, I mean, it goes pretty simple, getting those edges back. And once you get it, pull it back a little bit, just like that, then you can go back through and really crimp it down to keep them sharp edges out of the way and make a nice lip. there for yourself. So, and you could tidy that up a little bit, but again, this is only a couple use, type ordeal here. So we're going to finish that. Then what you want to do is you want to take your top piece, this is the piece we cut out the front, we're going to flatten it out, get that curve out of there, and if you want you can fold the edges over also, and then we'll get back and show you how we're going to put this on the top of the can. We'll go from there. Alright guys, so I finished folding over all my edges on my can, and then what I did was the piece that I cut out, okay, because I kept my opening a little bit smaller. If I would have made it a little bit bigger, it would have fit totally over the top. So you had to just play around with it. So if you can see, I just folded the can to a little bit of a U shape, and I took my lid, and I'm just playing around with that a little bit, and I found that I can make it fit somewhat like this over. So there's still some opening in the back, but it should get the job done for the most part. Now this edge that looks like it's cut apart a little bit, I just was playing around to see how I can make that fit best without having to do too much. So I cut the edge out, bent it over, and folded it around. So just play with that top part, and for the most part that's going to be the base of your lantern. So what I'm going to do now is, we have a piece of wire, you can use a piece of bank line, a piece of paracord if you wanted to. We're going to put our candle inside, put our bail on. I'm going to finish this top up, and then we'll show you it with the candle inside. So I'll get to this, we'll be right back with you. Alright, so we finished up the lantern. You can see we put a metal bail on because we had some metal wire we found in the woods earlier. But this is it for the most part. Now of course if you didn't have a smaller candle, you can always take the wax from your candle, drip it on, and stick your candle down to the bottom. But this is basically it. Alright guys, so that's our tin can lantern out in the woods. Just remember, if you're in a self-reliance type situation, always keep your eye open for anything and everything. A lot of times I think we get sucked into, when we're doing bushcraft stuff, we leave that stuff behind, or we think, oh, that's just trash laying there. But sometimes pick that up and work with a little bit. Glass bottles, metal, anything like that. Even if it's larger debris, build a shelter with it, because in a self-reliance type situation or a long-term living situation, there are resources that are very valuable, things that you can't get off the landscape. So just keep your eyes open, and always look for that stuff when you're out and about, and actually add that in part of your training regimen. Thanks guys.